Hello, viewers. We are in the midst of a very delightful conversation with the two reputed consultants in the panel, Mr. Rajiv Raghunath and Mr. Pritam Onsker, and we are discussing a thought leadership conclave of 2023. We have just finished the first set, and in the second set, we are going specific to the Idea Factory and what are our plans to take the Idea Factory forward. As you have seen, the Idea Factory has been consistently building up the conversation on thought leadership as well as on innovation, ideation in connection with startups and MSMEs. And growth of startups and MSMEs are at the very center point of our growth agenda. And we believe that we will be able to add value to the growth of the economy and the country by adding value to the startup and the MSME ecosystem of the country as well as abroad. In this process, we have been consistently, indulging in conversations with reputed consultants across India and across the world. And now we are shifting our gears to a more improved role in, playing an improved role in development of the country. Towards that, my first question to Mr. Rajiv Raghunath, and without giving major thoughts from me, because I have been talking about Idea Factory for a very long period of time, every conversation that is happening, please. And so my question to Mr. Rajiv Raghunath and of course Mr. Pritam Onsker is, how do you think that the Idea Factory can play a larger role in taking the concept of thought leadership forward or for driving innovation in the country and abroad? Mr. Rajiv.
Yeah, thanks, Abir. Talking about innovation for the country is a very, very big subject. And, I would, at this point in time, like to focus a little bit on innovation, driving change in the MSME sector, because that is perhaps a sector where a lot of the enterprises really need those kind of support services for them to be able to grow. Largely in this particular sector, one of the challenges had been, in my understanding, is that organizations that are operating in their particular band have not been able to grow out of that. Like, small enterprises remain small, it doesn't graduate to become a medium enterprise, right? There may be a few exceptions, but largely they remain where they are. So to be able to help them to grow out of their own categories, they require a variety of support services and, in fact, thought leadership, of course. Along with that, some very, very defined services are required. So where does Idea Factory come in? I would think that Idea Factory should become like a proper consulting arm for this particular segment, where verticals are set up to offer consulting and support services in the areas of financing, or funding, technology adoption and digital transformation, or people development, or building market research, market reach, brand building. These are all very, very important aspects that every enterprise at that level would require. Larger enterprises have the resources to invest. But many of these enterprises that we are talking about, maybe the medium level enterprises could also in-house many of these things. But if you talk about the micro and small enterprises, they all struggle to in-house these services because it would mean investments in resources. Why not create a common pool from where these enterprises will be able to access these services so that they can actually be more aggressive with their growth plans? This is my one suggestion. Second is with regard to policy advocacy. And much as there are industry bodies that are doing that, interestingly, most of the industry bodies that at least I have been associated with in some way, I found that while the majority of the membership comes from the small and medium enterprises, but is largely steered by the large enterprises. As a result, the policy advocacy invariably is done for the larger, for the larger groups. So there is definitely a need gap there of doing policy advocacy specifically for this particular segment. This particular segment also includes the startups. So it's not that we're talking about MSME in the conventional sense. The third part is in terms of licensing with the government. You cannot. Idea Factory should not operate in a vacuum of its own, or become very inward looking and looking at only its own capabilities and think that, okay, this is what we have and we have to offer. Rather, it should integrate itself with a variety of other knowledge ecosystems, and there should be a free flow of knowledge, and and create a reservoir of knowledge, and maybe knowledge products that can be utilized by these enterprises at reasonable costs. I think these are some of the suggestions that I would have like to put forth for Idea
I
Factory.
think these are very great inputs for the development of the Idea Factory. Mr. Pritam, you want to add to any other point from your perspective?
I think the great points made by Rajiv, and I'll step a little bit behind from where it'll start. So a lot of startups are having great products, great services, etc., right? But they are not able to express or talk about those products that well, because as India as a culture doesn't have a culture of building soft skills, right? There are many reports which is by Stanford and many other colleges, which says that 80% of your success depends on the soft skills and only 20% depends on the hard skills that you have. Doesn't mean that the foundation that you have is not important. It is important. Only when you have that will the soft skills come into play. And there are many examples, right, why Indians go outside and succeed so well. So soft skill focus is what I would recommend Idea Factory to build in, especially when they are working with MSMEs and with startups, because idea is only as good as it is expressed. अगर idea आपके दिमाग में है तो उसका कोई फायदा नहीं. So you may be the greatest scientist, but if you can't articulate the research or the science that you have brought to the table, it has got no value. So that is one area I think that Idea Factory can in this thing. Secondly, trying to differentiate between value and valuation, which I've already spoken about. I think there is a lot of literacy which is needed in that space as well. And third very important thing, I think, which is currently not happening in a very structured manner, I would say, is there is an industry versus startup connect, right? But there is no single platform which allows that, right? There are many companies who face issues. There are many companies who are willing to pay to solve those issues, right? And half of these solutions can come from startups or MSMEs. Half of these solutions can come from academia. But is there a platform which brings all of these together? The answer is no, right? So Idea Factory can actually become that platform where the industry also comes in, where the startup also come in. Maybe they can anonymously post their problems, which the startup or the academia ecosystem can actually address, and everybody in the whole bargain benefits out of it. And obviously Idea Factory plays the role of that glue or of that platform which can stitch all of these three things together.
Right. I think wonderful thoughts coming from both sides, and I think these are fundamental issues. As you rightly said, we are at a very tender stage in terms of innovation. We are trying innovation, but at the same time we don't have the right measurements. We don't have the right, as you rightly said, the value add portion is missing, and where we fall in the value chain. Is the value chain mapped? Should it always be within the organization? Should it always outside the how do you mix and match both of them, and whether you can actually have a platform which connects industry and academia? I think Idea Factory is very finely fits into this scheme of things, but has to play a very strong role going forward in the whole process. And I'm sure this kind of perspectives have also come from your own experiences in that market, and we hope to associate with you also in these topics only around, as you rightly said, like, because these topics have come from you, because Idea Factory is at this stage, it is also at a very tender stage, and it is also relying heavily on the associations it builds with the consultants pan India and across the world also. So we believe that we will be able to propagate these concepts for the nations also, for within the country as well as outside, through the association that we have with you. I think both ways it's a win-win situation, because I think you also have a follow up on the soft skills, and you have a connection on the MSME sector, Mr. Rajiv. So both of you have some skill sets which are going to help Idea Factory to grow. And at the core of it are ideas and innovation So at the same time, we would also be talking about, if we are talking of innovation, we are also talking of patents. We will be talking of trademarks. We will be, try to park the knowledge, what has emanated from the idea factory, and to see that people don't replicate it easily and quickly, which is a big issue in India. People copy it over time, and you are lost because you don't have a copyright. In fact, today, if you talk of it, there are so many startups that have started new trends that I talked about, Pharmacy, if you talk of Swiggy. But today, if you ask me, over time, many of us have upgraded from Swiggy, we have upgraded to Big Basket. From Pharmacy, we have upgraded to Tata 1MG. So the bigger guys come into play. From Flipkart, Flipkart was all over the place. Suddenly, Amazon comes over, and because of money power, they take over. So on one side, you have these startups, they are coming with the innovation, and then the big guys are coming and eating up the smaller fishes because they don't have the right, resources to take it forward. So but who should be the front runner of this innovation? It should be the startup, right? So do we have a platform where the startup gets the credit or the royalty or whatever? Should Flipkart get a credit, the royalty from Amazon? Because if we understand Amazon, Flipkart correctly, they were employees of Amazon. So they also came out and started something like that. But today it's all Amazon only. In India, I think we are talking of Amazon more and Flipkart less. We are talking of Tata 1MG more, and maybe tomorrow we will be talking of Pharmacy less, because they may not be able to scale the way the bigger companies are scaling. So there are huge issues of innovation. You cannot, as you rightly said, from small business to from the smaller business to the MSME, the medium enterprise. But by that time, the big guy has already come, and he's flooded the market. That small business is nowhere able to take it forward. So these are all crucial issues. If we have to protect innovation, we have to build a barrier around it. The entry barrier of anybody else to follow the startup guy. And Idea Factory has to, we are also in conversations with startup companies, so that we are also giving ideas to them. We are taking ideas for them. It becomes an idea exchange platform, and then driving these ideas forward. I think these are some of the thoughts that all of you have added wonderfully with that. But today we also have a guest, and Mr. Anil is joining from the US. Anil, you have heard the conversation correctly. Would you like to ask one or two questions before we wrap up the session?
No, Arvind, thank you very much for setting this up. I'm very impressed by the work all the three of you are doing. I'm sorry, I'm taking hard breath because I was also working out while listening to you. So, no, it's a very good thing we are doing, Arvind. The first time I'm listening to it, so I'll have questions the next time.
Right. Thank you. We are stopping the recording now, but let's stay forward and spend some more time to understand the conversations better.